Thank you so much, Sarah. This morning, Dr. Roger Gietzen was raised here in Petoskey as a father of two, and he's a medical doctor and really a true humanitarian worker for our community, from our community. He started working in Haiti because he wanted to go where things were the worst. After initially doing medical work in Haiti, he switched to community development projects in hopes of finding novel, sustainable solutions for the poorest family farmers. Over the past 3 years, I'm proud to say our Sunrise Rotary Club has helped sponsor some of Roger's humanitarian projects. This morning Roger's going to tell us about his journey and his new visions. Let's welcome Roger Gietzen.
David, thank you. Remind me how much time I have. We want to be done at 8:15?
Yeah, around there.
Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and share a PowerPoint presentation. Let me go ahead and get that up and running. And everybody can hear me?
Yeah, I can't see it. I can't see the PowerPoint, but we can hear you.
Yeah, let me figure out which one. I think.
Did Andy help? There we go.
Is that working good?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're there.
For those who haven't seen me present before, my nonprofit is named Global Freedom Project, and there's 3 officers. This first slide shows myself, Shelly Dale, who's a local nurse practitioner in Petoskey, who's done work in Haiti, and Sasha Rosant, another officer who's done humanitarian work in Peru. And I've been going to Haiti on a regular basis. At one point, it was up to 3 months a year, starting in late 2015. And I've tested a variety of different projects to find solutions that can help the poorest be more sustainable, live more independently. Currently, they're reliant on about 80% of imports in Haiti. It's a country that consumes instead of producing, despite it being a tropical region that has a potential. So that's a little background. I've done things like sanitation with installing family toilets, sewing programs, and what I did most recently was I've had a relationship develop with local small NGOs, nonprofits, and it allows me to keep my organization very small and streamlined, and they carry out the activities. And so one of the organizations I've worked with is called Good Heart Samaritan, and they serve a community that we see on this next slide called Benico. And Benico I've been interested in because it's the poorest. They have no road access. It takes a 30-minute walk down a mountainside to get to their community. And just it's clear that they have the least amount of resources available. There's no electricity, there's no running water to the homes. The people farm as their primary method of income. And so about a year and a half ago, I want to say, maybe it's even been 2 years now, we held a meeting. I hired an organization that does this type of meeting professionally. And the goal was to engage the people to have their own voice. And over the course of 3 days, they came and they laid out what they thought were the main problems in their community. And then they had a vote on which ones they thought were the biggest issue. And then they had to, at the end, come up with an action plan. And so here's what resulted after the vote. The number one thing they wanted was vocational training. The second was agricultural training. The third was access to their community with a road. The fourth was clean water. And then the fifth was literacy training for adults. they also really wanted healthcare, but they wanted to have like a little medical clinic, but they couldn't really formulate a plan. And it's very complicated. Almost everything they want is very complicated, I can tell you. And um, I took that list and I thought, what can I offer? What resources do I have? And the one project that I'm doing right now, I'm not involving Rotary in, is agricultural training. And this one, it's still, I would say, in a experimental phase a little bit. I'm bringing consultants. The man in the blue shirt squatting, his name is Maru, and there was another man named Paraguay from Brazil that came um, and taught just in April. And I've been working on this project for 5 years, and it's a way to produce a way to build and improve soil quality and produce better crops as if you're using fertilizers without using them. So this project's ongoing. It's really a new science of understanding how to farm without pesticides and herbicides. And so this is one project that I will be introducing into that community to help address some of the one of their requests. But the one I thought would be best for Rotary was the Clean Water Project. And the community has about 500 homes, and they have access to a lot of water. Some places in Haiti are very dry. So everybody can access water. There's rivers and springs all around. It's not a long walk to get water. But the problem is the water sources are contaminated. And so there's horrible problems with soil erosion on this right image. You can see after rain how the water gets full of dirt, and people open defecate, and their livestock do, and there's parasites in the water, and there's fecal fecal organism contamination. The one part of the community has and what appears to be a nice spring, and with the help of the Rotary Club, we capped a lower part of that spring, which you can see the cement structure on the left, and then an opening into it on the right. And that is clearly some of the best water they have. But unfortunately, what I found with a fecal contamination water test is even the best water is still bad. And the test I have is a little bit qualitative, and I can tell you it's this is the spring. This is one of the springs, and the test of the water, it came back with the black color. It's even worse from the river. It's like solid black, you know. But I was frustrated to see. I believe this is occurring from surface runoff. And so even the best sources in Haiti in this community are contaminated. And we looked through a lot of different solutions to get people clean water. One idea was to build cisterns for every part of the community, which would be incredibly expensive and challenging project. And when I realized that the sources are contaminated, it wouldn't even solve the problem. Everybody would get easy access to cleaner water, but even the spring water we'd be shipping around is dirty. And most people have close access to water, so it does. Building the cistern, which was the original idea, doesn't have a lot of value. And so we scoped out all the springs and explored this idea, and eventually I decided it's not going to work. In the end, after spending a lot of time there and research, the solution that I feel is best is a filter that people could have in their households called a biosand filter. And on the left, you see this filter. It's I have one demonstration one at a local school. And on the right, you see the water after it's been run through the filter. That's a clean test. So I was encouraged by the fact that this filter is a real solution. They can have them each in their own homes, and they can collect water for wherever they want and know that what they're going to be drinking is not going to have fecal bacteria in it. And I don't know how much energy that takes from them, how many childhood illnesses. But I believe this is going to help a lot. And I'm going to add in the chat, if I can figure out how to do that, the name of the organization that's helping me. It's called Clean Water for Haiti. I'll do that at the end. I think as long as I have this presentation, I'm not able to join the chat. But I'm working with an organization with decades of experience in Haiti, and they don't build the filters for you because they're very heavy. They train your community to build their own filters. And these filters can all be made from materials that you can easily get in Haiti. They can mix the cement and collect the sand and gravel in their community. They use some different filtering methods. If you look on the left lower corner, you see that they use different substrates that are natural and available. And they produce a living filter. You get bacteria growing in there that's healthy and aerobic. And when you pass the water through, it cleans it. It works a little bit like fish aquarium filters that have gravel on the bottom and the bubblers that move the water through them. And so this is the concept for the project. We would have 3 steps, and it's a big project to do filters for 500 people. And what I'd be asking for from your club, if you wanted to be involved, would be $3,500 for the first year. And the club in Charlevoix's pledged, they've pledged 2,500 already, but I think they are willing to go up to that amount. And if it worked out, then we would apply for a district matching grant, and we'd be able to get a total of 14,000 in this first step. And what I would be able to do with that is complete the first 2 steps of this project, and then also build about 27 filters. And so here is a list of the first step would be to build a workspace. So we have a community center, and it's just a repurposed home that somebody sold us, and with a little bit of land. We need to build it's a work building, like a storage building out of concrete that we can lock the cement bags in, and the tools and the wheelbarrow and the things they would use to make these. And we also need to deliver water to the community, to that community work area. And there the total cost for that is the 8,500. It was like almost $2,000 to pipe water from one of those cisterns, and then like 6,000 some to build this building. And this is been the recommendation of the fella from Clean Water for Haiti that I'm working with. And then once we have a place where we can build these filters, then I would send a number of men for training to this organization that's in Haiti, where they would learn how to make these. They'd spend a full week there, and then they would come back with some assistance from them to start building the filters. And the training and the initial supplies, they have to buy these molds that you build that thing in. That's about $3,000. And so this is a project that it's been taking me about a year and a half to put everything together, and then to build the actual filters. It would be around $90 some per filter, including all the expenses. So if every single family wanted one, and we worked for a couple of years on building those, that would be an additional $4,600. And this is the community. Here's a picture of the valley. And this is the information that I got from Mark over at Charlevoix about matching district grant. And if anybody has any questions, we've explored a lot of the ins and the outs. What we have already a man who's been involved in projects, who's reliable, that we've identified as the technician who would get trained. He would have to hire a second person to help him move these and help him work the cement. I have 2 inspectors trained, one that works with a nonprofit that lives just outside the community, he could go and verify before this man gets paid. We'd hire him as like an independent contractor, and he wouldn't get money until the filters are made. And included in the building of the filters is a follow-up visit. So he would be training the families how to use them, how to keep them clean, and then he would go and follow up at X number of months or maybe at 1 year and visit the families and make sure they're still using the filters. They would be expected to pay something between $5 and $10 for each filter. And the reason for that is that it improves adherence and usage of the filters. They found when they just gave these away, people would say, I want one, and they would put it on their property, and they may or may not use it. If they're real busy, they may they don't value what's given to them for free. And they found that even by charging the small amount, which in some cases will be a challenge for them to pay, they found that there's almost 100% adherence rate when they come back a year later that can see they're using the filters. And my guess is that some of the people won't buy them, the ones who, even though I've shown them that the cleanest spring water is dirty, I think some people in the community, if they're close to those springs, they'll probably say, I'm drinking clean water. But I do know they brought this up as one of their top 4 needs. And I can see that they have issues with cholera. They have other infectious diseases, cysticercosis, which is transmitted through pigs and through their fecal waste. I believe this is going to make a big difference. And Chris Rolling, I'm going to put down the slide and share the names of the organizations that I'm working with. Yeah, Clean Water for Haiti. Let me, Chris Rolling, the guy that I consulted with, and I'm extremely have a lot of respect for him. And then here's a link to my nonprofit, but he's the one who's been guiding me. He told me in one of the communities they worked at, after a couple of years of getting all their community members the water filters, the mothers came back and said, we're not having our babies die anymore. We used to have infant mortality every year. And they felt that the clean water was the single most important change that had been made in that period of time. And I'll tell you, they're just chronically ill. These kids, you see their ribs, they have poor nutrition already, but then you got parasites and other things eating away at you inside and taking your energy. And I think clean water is just a no-brainer. One of the first interventions that needs to be done. I've built some toilets in the community already, but this I think is something that they requested. And I like the idea that I've got their engagement, and I have a solution that's proven, that's been used for decades, and I have a team that is interested in moving forward. So I've been working on this for a while. I wanted to wait until I really had ironed out a lot of the details and had a project that I could get behind. And I've been kind of absent. For those who don't know me, I used to attend meetings, a couple times a year and report back to you guys. And so here I am again. It takes a long time to get things done in Haiti, but I have been making progress. And I wonder if anybody has any questions about this project.
Thanks, Roger. Great job, by the way.
Hey, Randy, thanks. And I made it before. I can talk about a lot of other projects. I made it before my 8:15 mark.
So Roger, it's interesting because I remember when our international committee first connected with you, we had gone down the path of matching grants through Rotary and all that, and opted to not do that because it was a little more complicated than we were willing to get into. And you were a nice way to get right into the deal. So it's fun to see it coming full circle. Yeah. And seeing that we're able to do some matching grant stuff. So yeah, that's very interesting. Actually, if we come in with less than 3,500, does the matching grant still work, or does it maybe this is a John question, or even Cindy Alexander knows a lot about this stuff too. So
I understood I understood it does. That's the most they'll match. So if we gave,
Oh, so you were maximizing. Yeah, yeah. Okay,
yeah,
you were maximizing.
if you gave $1,000, then you'd get $1,000.
Yep. Yeah,
I do,
you're right.
I do
Now
want
I
to,
remember that. Yeah.
I do want to mention something. This is a little different than, this is a district or a regional matching grant. It's a little different than the international global grant. And the reason is because the international global grant requires a Haitian Rotary Club to be involved. And the idea behind that is it would reduce the likelihood of misuse of funds. But ironically, it almost guarantees the misuse of funds. And I learned that from Chris Rawling, because that guy with Clean Water for Haiti had done a bunch of projects, and what they find is you have to find this organization that's somewhere in your area in Haiti, and what they find is almost routinely that club and the local club tries to divert a little bit of money to their own projects or their own things, and it's been a nightmare. And I've heard it from 3 separate organizations now, such that they've all stopped using the international global grant because it's a gift to find somebody you can trust. And so if they find a community and people they can work with, they're better off in not inviting more Haitians into the mix that you don't that aren't immediately involved. So Mark over in Charlevoix initially wanted to do the international grant, and then he got mixed in with an email with Chris Rawling, the guy in Haiti who's been there for years. And after talking to them, he said, let's look for another route. And then he's like 95% sure that this regional grant we can use, and we can avoid having a local Haitian Rotary Club involved. So I should mention that. And I think it's a little different. There's different like matching levels and stuff like that. But from what I've heard, it's going to be much better in a sense in making sure that that the funds get used. And I have a guy who's totally separate from both Good Heart Samaritan and the community, who I trust extremely well, who can come and visit maybe on a monthly basis. He'll be my ultimate inspector. And then of course I visit myself, and I go, and I would be very strict with them. If I found that money had been used once, I would end the project. There's other communities we can go help with. And I'm going to make that, if this happens, I'm going to make that very clear up front, that we expect integrity from them. And I think that's as important or more important than the filters themselves, teaching people to be honest and to use the money the way that that we're planning.
Roger, did you say that there are 500 families in this community? And what's the name of the community, and how is it organized?
So the organization is informal. The name of the community I'll type into the it's called Banico, and you can't find it on a map. I mean, it's like even many of the communities that in the area don't know of them. There's no like official government buildings or organizations or police or anything. It's but there is a clear identity, and there's with that open space meeting I had, there's regions in the community. I think there's 4 or 5. They have different parts to it, and they do know each other, and they have some history of working together in their small regions on farms and stuff. It's called a calm beat, where they go and they do some activities together as a community, but it's all informal and loose. And there's also conflict and between some over resources, and there's theft that happens in the community. People are desperate,
Are they attached to a parish or any kind of church organization?
That I would have to. There is at least one church I've seen in the community on the other side of the river, and there is a school on the side that the core that I've been working at. Everything kind of revolves around a school, and it's a private school that's run by one of the community members. and there's a couple people who help out with that, and there's like this handful of people who are on the side that I'm used to working with. It's they're kind of the authority figures. And then there is this church on the other side that I have visited before, and I see they have meetings and community gatherings there. And I do believe, and there's probably more actually. Most churches, the Christian church is strong in Haiti, and most communities have multiple different churches.
Roger, I saw in the chat where someone had asked the question, can multiple families share one of these filters?
Oh, I see. I got to keep this open.
Yeah.
I think they could. What the challenge, my initial idea was just to put filters like by the river where they collect the water, and we only need like 10 of them or something. But there's a couple problems with that. Number one is they require maintenance, and they require, like, people have to care for them. And as soon as something becomes community, like we've had community latrines in Haiti, nobody cares for it. It gets trashed, and then it often doesn't get used. And the other thing is they're a very slow drip, because it's really cleaning the water. It takes a while to fill up your bucket. And so I think there would be this sort of logistical issue with, you got to go to the neighbors and do it. I mean, maybe if there's like multiple homes that are all in the same family, I could see them using it. And the fact that we charge this 500 Haitian goud, which is the equivalent of a dollar, and which would cost about $5, it's going to make sure that the people who get the filters use them wisely. And there might be some units where, okay, they're close and they're friends, they'll just get one. And there might be somebody who don't buy them. There will definitely be some like late responders, my guess is in the first year or so, you'll see some people buy them and use them and be enthusiastic. And then other people will kind of come on later as they also like catch the excitement,
Yeah.
But there are 500 families there. I don't know that all of them will get this. It's to be seen exactly. We require their participation, so it's not a freebie. They can't. We won't automatically give them to all 500 because they won't use them. It'll just sit in their property.
Roger, you've gotten involved with the Charlevoix Rotary Club. Have you reached out to any of the other clubs that are in the area?
I haven't. I don't have any contacts, but I think it would be a great idea. I think there's and I think for each club there's a match. So the more clubs you get, the more financial support there is, and the bigger the impact we can have. And I prefer having people where there's a relationship, so we can do this together and see the results and feel that sense of accomplishment.
Okay.
Great. Thanks for the update. It's, I can see it's very well thought out, and it's interesting because I know the last time you were here, you had talked about those citrine, and then you're like, well, that's not going to work. So I can see that. And then even to just give them away, well, that's not going to work. So you've really thought it out. So it's good update.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And we'll make sure to get those links in our newsletter as well. So anybody can check that out later too. All right, with that, again, we are meeting next Tuesday, and our quote of the day comes from Susie Kassam. Doubt kills more dreams than failure ever will. Go for it. All right, thanks guys. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.